Welcome to another episode of the Clarity Digital Pod. I am your host, Sefati, the founder and CEO of Clarity Digital Agency, and today I'm excited to welcome back a returning guest, veteran Chief Marketing Officer Mark Kapczynski and CEO of Control Media. Mark brings a wealth of insight from his years as a marketing leader, and in this episode, we'll be talking all about the modern Chief Marketing Officer's evolving role, the rise of fractional CMO, and how technology and AI are shaping the future of marketing. Let's dive in. Hey, Mark, welcome back.
I'm back, baby. I'm back.
Mark, the CMO. Thank you so much. You're one of my earlier guests when I launched my podcast, and I appreciate you coming back.
Thanks
I'm not,
for having me for a second round. I
yeah,
must have done okay on the first one to be invited back.
yeah. I slice out our long forms
Yeah.
into smaller clips, and some of the clips were they had good like impressions and metrics in social media. So I think you want to capitalize on that and just giving you a quick introduction about you. You and I have worked together for a long time. First, you were more of it was at Experian. We were different departments. I was on the tech side, you were in the marketing side, and then at a few other projects where you were a CMO and I was on the agency and consultant side. And
So
now
wait, are you always saying we're on different sides?
now we are on the same side. I think
Al,
now
we've always been on the same side.
we have always been on the same side. Yeah, sorry. I have a lot of respect for good CMOs. You're definitely one of them.
Very kind. And Al, you and I have known each other a long time, so I just give you a hard time every once in a
Yeah,
while.
you do.
I
That,
gotta I
that's
gotta keep you honest.
that's totally fine. Again, this is one role. CMO role is one role that I usually have. Either I really enjoy working with a CMO, I really don't. It's so like binary. If you have a good CMO that understands the modern marketing, I really enjoy working with that CMO, regardless of
Yeah,
their
well,
personality traits.
Well, I think that goes without saying. It's as more things get outsourced, or I guess what I'll say is as marketing becomes so difficult and so many components to it, you can't build internal teams to cover every single thing. So you become more and more dependent on either contractors or freelancers or agencies or consultants. And I think a good CMO these days has to understand how to balance what can we do internally, what do we do externally. But, and here's the big key thing, is like, how does everyone feel like they're one team? And I
Mhm.
think that's something I've always strived for in my career, which is you may be a contractor one day, you may be working for me another day as a direct employee, whatever, it doesn't matter. Together, we have to be successful, and the whole team has to work as a team, even though people have different email addresses. And I think that's a thing that unfortunately a lot of CMOs and businesses they put up the wall. It's, oh, you're the agency, so you're an outsider, or you're the contractor, and you're like, we can't tell you everything. And I think as a marketing industry as a whole, we have to break down those barriers and just be like, we're all here for the same goal, right? We're all here to drive our businesses forward, and we have to collaborate.
Yeah, thank you. And
Sorry
as
to go
someone,
off on a sorry to go off on a
oh, no, it was amazing because I've been in-house for my earlier on in my career, and then I've been now consulting now on agency side, and I've always seen the need, especially for larger enterprises, the need for that healthy collaboration between agency and the freelancers and
Yeah.
in-house staff.
Well, I think in prep for this, you and I were talking about fractional CMOs,
Mhm.
right? And I've been a fractional CMO for a while, and I love that role because a lot of companies either can't afford a full-time CMO, or there isn't like enough work to do to justify it.
Mhm.
Because, and the point I mean by that is like when you hire a CMO, right? They're going to want to take on a lot of projects, and most
Yeah.
companies aren't prepared financially and wherewithal, technology wise, and so on, to take on the volume of projects that a solid CMO can execute on, and so on. So fractional makes more sense because it's okay, there's a contained set of projects that we need to get done. We can then partner with freelancers or agencies to then execute on things, and it makes it really efficient. And as part of that, though, it gets back to, look, everyone's still on the same team, right? We have to function collaboratively because ultimately the only thing that matters is making sure we're hitting the company's goals. And if we're collectively not, then we'll all be out of a job. And
Yeah.
we got to find ways to continue to work together. And a lot of that is trust. And I think you and I probably why we work well together is we've known each other for so long, just innately trust what you do. So I don't have to worry about you. I don't have to micromanage you and your team and so on. And it creates, I think, a healthy partnership together.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. And I agree with you. Even with my own staff, whether they're 1099 or W2, it doesn't really matter. We're all part of the same team. And that's the first thing I usually ask is that, hey, are we going to get deprioritized if you're a freelancer? We don't care what your status is, but we want the attention, the needed attention and your expertise. And I'm
So
glad
much
you,
of that,
yeah, go ahead,
I
please.
was just going to say, so much of that comes out of, though, building the relationship
Yes.
with both the CMO or the fractional CMO, as well as with the other management team. And that just takes interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
Can't do it behind a screen or over email. It still goes back to sometimes you just got to go meet your clients or meet your partners and so on in person and have a coffee with them and talk about baseball or whatever. And I think I've always feel like I've been successful at, I consider the people I work with friends and close acquaintances, not adversaries. And I think a lot of people have to get over that idea of, oh, I'm hiring you, but I own you and you're my labor or something. It's like, you got to treat people with respect, and you got to get to know each other face to face. And I always try to take every opportunity I can to get out of the office, go meet partners, go meet vendors, go meet agencies and so on, and get to know people. Because when it comes down to it, it's those interpersonal relationships and the trust bonds that you build that will help you be successful.
I still haven't forgot the advice you gave me when I was starting my agency. I'm like, I want to be a better leader. How should I lead better? And you said, don't. You said, don't. Your answer was, don't lead. Just, it was more of a, not that don't lead, don't be a, I think, I don't remember the exact word you used. Basically, you said lead by example to be a good captain, or I forget which word you used, but you don't have to be, like you said, it goes back to
Yeah,
what you
I
said,
think it was
create good
probably more
relationship.
along, it was probably more along the lines like, don't think about it.
Don't
Like
think about it, yeah.
if you think about being a leader, you just get caught up in your own head and so
Yeah,
on.
I
You
think
got to
that's what you said,
go
yes.
out there and do the right things. If you know you're doing the right things, you'll always sleep well at night. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And people will respect you no matter what the situation is.
Yeah. And one interesting thing that you brought up about fractional CMOs is that with the AI and digital transformation is happening at rapid pace. I've seen even a lot of larger companies are adopting that model, but they're not necessarily calling the fractional CMO because they already have a CMO. They call her like a consultant or whatever. But essentially that person is a fractional CMO because they're helping with the digital transformation of that company. And I've seen a client of ours that actually does that. So it's pretty interesting to have a traditional CMO that basically essentially he's really a sales guy that goes to a lot of trade shows and stuff like that, old school, but not digital savvy enough. And then they have a fractional CMO that helps them with digital marketing. So what are the responsibilities of CMOs in your opinion? That's a lot of, I know that's a loaded question, but yeah.
You know what? I think it's actually more simple than you may think, or my answer hopefully will be more simple than you may think. I think it really comes down to two things, right? Help drive revenue for the business, right? Drive growth on one side, right? And advocate for the brand.
Yeah.
And it's like, if everything you do can map to those two things, then you're doing the right things. There's a lot of details in what I said, and there's, a lot of mechanics to it and budgets and so on. But like at the end of the day, like you're trying to advance your brand so people recognize it and can find it and ultimately want it versus you having to sell hard into it. And then you got to be making sure you're helping to drive revenue and profitable revenue at that too, right? As you know, a lot of folks, I was talking to someone earlier and they're like, yeah, the CEO came to me as a fellow CMO, came to me the other day and came to discuss a conversation they had with their CEO the other day. I was like, hey, can we spend $2 million in marketing and get 4 million in revenue this week? They wanted to like bank some revenue really quick. And the guy was like, our ROAS is 0.5 or maybe 1 at best. So it's like you're going to spend 2 million to make 1 million, not
Yeah.
2 million to make 4 million. And that's maybe an example of what CMOs have to focus on, which is for every dollar you're spending, what are you delivering with it in terms of brand value and in terms of revenue? And
Yeah.
like all the other metrics and things feed into that.
Yeah. How much of a CMO's job needs to be spent in evangelizing at the other C levels? I feel like I've seen some CEOs are pretty savvy and some are not. How much energy you should spend teaching, like telling them, hey, this is how it works. Like the example you just gave is we cannot spend $2 million because we're only going to get 1 million back.
I might quit that role if that's what my job is to
Quit.
I
That was a
never
good
would
answer.
have gotten hired.
Yeah.
No, if you don't work for a CEO, COO that knows these kind of things, you're going to be in trouble, right?
Yeah.
If you have to advocate for how this stuff works, you sadly say you're working for the wrong company
Yeah.
because you're not going to be successful, right?
Mm.
Especially you and I know plenty of CEOs who like they know how to do it. I've even worked for some where it's just like, why did you hire me?
We
If
both
like
work for
like
some. We don't want to name them.
you know
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
you want to be CMO, be CMO too. You don't need to hire a CMO, but then want to do the job. So I think a lot of this is setting yourself up for success and working with the right companies and the companies that want to grow and appreciate the right structure to grow. Those are the companies you want to work with. The ones where, there's a couple people and they know better than everyone else. You're never going to be successful. So that's hard.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
But
Go ahead.
the thing that I will add though to what's the CMO role these days, it is multifaceted. You do have to know branding, but you also have to know performance, and the key thing is you have to understand how they interconnect. Like we have to get away from this is a brand campaign and a brand budget, and this is a performance campaign and a performance budget, and they're not measured the same. You have to understand how these connect together because again, like if you go back to what I said before, it's like these things bubble up to the same goal of like, how do we drive revenue for the business?
Yeah.
Branding without revenue doesn't make sense. You have to have the revenue behind it and tied to it.
Sure.
And so I think the role of the CMO just is more complicated because there's a lot of creative people out there that love branding, but they have to be more disciplined on the data side of what can be done. And then the same thing goes on the performance side. You have great performance marketers, but you have to understand how to leverage brand and branding to positively affect your campaigns. And the world of two, we're separated by a wall. That's the biggest thing that has to start to change is getting away from that world. And I will also say the thing that has to change is marketing seen as just a cost center. It has to be more of a revenue center. And how does marketing drive revenue? Are there projects and things that marketing can do to help grow businesses? And I think CMOs have to get away from I just do branding and we do big TV campaigns and that's it, to like, how am I driving e-commerce? How am I building retail media? How am I doing other things to help the business monetize all their assets?
Yeah, really good. And last time you spoke, you mentioned about retention as well, right? Retention being a strategy. So that requires CMOs working with, I don't know, customer service team, with product
finance,
team,
right? I mean, you got to know who your customers are, where they're coming from, and how you're getting them, and how you're keeping them, and how you're growing them.
Yeah.
If you're only looking at, hey, we're doing cool social media campaigns, and we're at events doing activations, you're not really thinking about. Ultimately, I feel like what you're saying is first party data, right? You have to understand your first party data. How does that first party data translate into ultimately conversions to buyers instead of just marketing contacts like, hey, we know Al came to the site and bought these products. How do we reinvigorate Al to make another purchase and do it sooner? And then how do we get Al to tell his friends to go buy and so on?
Yeah.
That's part of the job of the CMO. Your organization. It isn't just, we only do performance campaigns.
Yeah, I was listening to another CMO podcast, and they basically said that CMOs among the other C-level jobs that have the shortest tenure, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The good ones get promoted and become CEOs,
I don't
or
know
what?
about
Yeah, or
that.
and the bad
I
ones get
mean,
let go. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I think look, I think the point is CMOs have to change and evolve and take more responsibility for revenue
sure.
growth.
Yeah,
And
revenue
a
growth.
lot of CMOs don't like to do that. They like oh, I have a big branding budget and I get
Mm-hmm.
to travel to cool things and go to events and spend a bunch of money. But that's not going to be long lived. And they spend a bunch of money on stuff and then they get moved out because they didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the key thing of what has to change is CMOs have to be like, I'm responsible. I will generate this much revenue and take a stand for it. And I think that's a different mindset for a lot of marketers in general, because it's not just the CMO. CMO then needs the team that can help them execute on that. How do we affect growth and revenue?
Yeah. If one thing I can take from this conversation so far, CMOs need to focus on revenue and brand.
Yeah, sure. Yes. And the qualifier I'll put is what kind of revenue, because there are different ways to achieve that revenue. It can be from either new services, new products. It can come from retention, as we just talked about. There is some nuance into where the revenue comes from and how to get it. But yes, they need to have a ownership stake in the revenue goal, not
Mm-hmm.
just whatever the sales team or the chief business officer or the CRO.
Yeah,
It's that has to be a shared goal, right?
sure, 100%. And how much I've noticed, I've seen a lot of marketing teams are very detached from the product team. And especially, and you're selling a product, you're marketing a product, don't you? You're supposed to give constant feedback to the product team. That sounds like a reasonable thing to say, but why is it such a disconnect between marketing and product teams? Is that because of the leadership issues? Is that because of organizational issues, or a little bit of both?
Uh, yeah, probably a lot of things.
A lot of things,
Yeah,
yeah.
also depends on the size of the company and so
Yeah.
on. A lot of bigger companies, marketing is purely branding and brand awareness, and then product marketing is managed by the product teams because they're the experts in the product. And then there's separate performance teams that are driving revenue, and some of those roll more into sales and stuff. So
Yeah.
it depends on the organization. But I think, let's say it's a mid-sized company, things have to be more integrated as a whole, not just product and marketing, but not all CMOs own like e-commerce or the website from a
Hmm.
transaction standpoint. They own like the marketing portion and not
Yeah.
the integration to the app. And so like the whole company has to be more integrated, not just marketing and
Sure.
product, right? Because like sales has to be involved, marketing has to be involved, product has to be involved, customer service, all the different divisions have a say as to what ultimately functions best, right?
And who leads that
The CEO,
transformation? CEO,
the
right? Yeah,
CEO,
that's his job.
right? That's their job, is
Yeah.
figure out how all my players work together, right?
Yeah.
They're the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're the one calling the play. Like, Al, you go this way, Mark,
Hmm.
you go this way, blah, blah, blah.
Sure. This is all really good information. So let me get a little more technical with it.
Oh,
No, not
you
too
know,
technical.
I'm not very technical, Al.
You are, but let's talk about just like modern transformation that's happening,
What does that
disruption,
mean?
let's just
What does
say,
that mean?
because of AI. The disruption, AI disrupting a lot of things. For example,
Okay.
I recently spoke at a conference about how SEO is changing a lot because of AI. So obviously, as an SEO expert, I was focusing on SEO. How is AI and just all this digital transformation disrupting marketing and the role of CMO?
Geez, Al, that's a tough question on a Friday afternoon.
You can say,
We should have
just
had
speak
this
from
at
your
8
behalf. Is
a.m.
it?
when I was fresher. No.
No.
Look,
Yeah.
AI is changing everything, as
Mm.
we all know.
Yep.
But I also like to say, it's also not changing anything, because
Yeah.
you still have to figure out your workflows. You still have to have checks and balances. AI is a tool. It doesn't replace like the workflow itself, right? AI can't self-create the perfect ad all on its own and serve
Hmm.
it and buy media. It's like you have to still have people to interact with it to help make it successful for the business. And
Yeah.
I think embracing it more from that standpoint. It's like, how do we integrate AI into our workflow versus, oh, it's just replacing people? Because a lot of AI, I think people get confused by what it is. And a lot of AI actually is just automation. And automation is great. And yeah, it's going to replace roles, but maybe we shouldn't have never had those roles. So it's replacing ordinary tasks that can be automated. Where it gets interesting is, how do you use it to drive the creative process to ultimately impact the business? And that's where, at least for now, isn't replacing a CMO who has industry knowledge, plus knowledge of the culture of the business, plus knowledge of the customer set. Until AI basically takes over everything,
Yeah.
it's not going to take over everything. You know what I mean? And
Sure,
so
yeah.
I think that's the key thing is, so I'd say again, figure out where it can be used to advance the business, figure out where it can be used to advance the creative process, figure out how it helps you from a automation standpoint so you can get more done, see more variants. Like I love it on landing pages. You can give it a bunch of different variables, and it's, instead of me guessing as to what's the best landing page to convert, it's let it do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it's designed for.
Yeah.
Your light went out.
Yeah.
And that's a great example where I could never do that with a human resource, right? We just wouldn't scale, right? We could do A/B testing, but now with AI, we can do like infinite permutations and combinations to find what really works. And that's super, super cool to me. But you have to embrace that, right? And then you have to figure out, how do you leverage that? Like, someone can go into Chat GPT and put in like a simple prompt, but you get a simple answer, right? So if you want to use AI effectively, you have to put in a complex set of prompts and questions and give it enough information to get something really meaningful back out. That takes effort. And I think that's where kind of this misnomer around AI is. It's like, people just think, oh, Chat GPT, I can put in, give me the world's best PowerPoint to raise $10 million. It's not going to do that. That's digitally impossible, I'll say. I was going to say humanly impossible. It's digitally impossible. So you have to learn how to work with AI to ultimately get the benefits that you're looking for, and understand how to then apply it into business. And back to driving revenue, building brand. How is it helping?
Yeah. So basically, AI is a tool, as you said. Know the tools, know what their capabilities are, and where you should, obviously, to be more efficient. And that's a really good.
Where's it actually going to help?
Where is it going to
Right?
help? Yeah.
Where is it really going to produce a positive result?
Yeah, and you said something really good earlier. You said some of these jobs maybe shouldn't have existed to begin with, and I have a good example for that. Before
I've
the
been
whole
saying that for years, even before AI. So I'm getting in trouble for that now, but I've always been saying that.
Yeah. It has been long my SEO strategy. This is how I do things a little bit differently than other SEOs, is that I don't just, if I want to write about blogs, if I want to create blogs or content for a website, I don't just look at SEMrush and other blog suggestion tools. I listen to my customers. What I do, and the way I've done it in the past, is I can install call tracking, like CallRail or whatever. And then most of those tools have a transcription feature that transcribes calls. And obviously, we are talking about hundreds of hours of calls a week. So that's something you cannot, I'm not going to be able to do. So in the past, I would hire like virtual assistants and go through them and identify topics and pain points to talk about. And now that thing has become so easy with ChatGPT. You just copy paste a transcription, you put it in ChatGPT, and now we even create a custom GPT for it. We don't have to do that anymore. And we just say, review all this and identify pain points and some topics you can talk about in blog posts. And then after a couple of back and forth, we finally got the good prompt, and that's what we use.
Sure.
And one of my strengths in SEO is that, because I listen to our customers, I'm like, okay, let's talk about some of the things that we think our audience would like to hear, because our customers are talking about it. And this task is very time and labor intensive, and now it's not, thanks to AI. And I think that's where marketers,
But see, that's like I partially bucket that as automation, right?
Yeah, it
It's
is
just like,
automation. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
nothing like the uniqueness is in what you're trying to get out of it, right? It's not, oh, because of AI now, like we invented something new. It's you just wanted to listen to customer feedback and
Mm.
find the key points. Now you could just do it at scale because
Yes.
you can have technology working for you versus having to hire a bunch of individuals and who knows what quality of what you would get and so on.
Yeah.
But like I bucket that as more automation than just AI magic.
Yeah. Very smart automation.
The thing I would also say, I'm super sensitive to this too, related to AI, is a lot of the AI engines just produce misinformation, false data, or incorrect data, I don't, however you want to word it. And that's the thing. I was talking to some folks about this. I know it's false because I have real world experience and like I genuinely have a sense of the data, right? If I were fresh out of college and in my first marketing job and so on, and I'm doing market research and I'm relying on Chat GPT or Copilot or Gemini, whatever, and it gives me data, oh, I'll just be like, oh, okay, it's there, so it must be right.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the dangerous piece to AI right now, which is you don't have people who are looking at the data to understand if it's accurate or inaccurate.
Hmm.
I think that's where it still has a lot of work to gain
Yeah.
the accuracy and trust factor to really make it apply.
Very cool. Yeah, for foreseeable future, we are still going to be employed. They're going to need marketers.
I don't want to be employed. I want to be retired.
I want to be retired too, but my bank
It's
account
funny.
says
I
no.
actually don't want to be retired. I love working, so
No, I
like
like working
that's
too,
my
but
problem.
I want to be working from an island.
There you go. See, you're always smarter than me, Al.
No, but yeah. So okay, let's just talk about if newer marketers want to become CMOs. Do you have any guidance? How do you grow to become a good CMO?
I'll say this, I'm going to say it exactly like this, which is this applies to any industry, which
Hmm.
is go learn every job in the discipline that you want to work in. And that's what makes senior leaders, in my mind, great, is that like they know a little bit they know enough about SEO, they know enough about performance marketing, they know enough about branding, they know e-commerce, they know everything so that like they know if you're doing a good job or not. And it's funny because I actually learned this when I went to film school. I went to UCI film school and worked my ranks up early in my career in the film industry. And the thing that made directors successful, movie directors successful, is like they knew every job, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they couldn't do maybe they couldn't physically do every single job, but like they knew about how to dress a set. They knew about wardrobe. They knew about the camera and lighting and electrics and the actors and the script, right? Like, so a great director knew all the different jobs and how they ultimately came together to enable them to tell their story and produce a great moving image and so on, or sound too. And so I think that's what's pretty key is for young people early in their career is like go learn every job within marketing, right? Go learn about branding, go learn about running ads, buying media, selling media. Go learn it all so that if you want to progress in your career, you know enough and you're broad enough, but also there's a level of depth there. It's not just you're broad and thin, right? You're broad and moderately deep. And I think that's ultimately the key to success, not just in marketing, but in any field, right? I think we got over the years so much, I'll say, beaten into us about like focus, focus, only do one thing, right? Al, you're
Mm.
only the SEO guy. And then SEO goes away. And what do you do? Or Facebook ads go away and you only know Facebook ads. Then what do you do? And I think good leaders know how to adapt to changes.
Sure.
And the only way you know how to deal with changes is if you have different experiences.
Yeah.
So don't pigeonhole yourself in just one discipline. Oh, I know Facebook ads and that's all. I'm going to be doing this forever. It's like Facebook will go away and something else will come in and you got to be ready for it. Or SEO will change and you got to be ready for it. The best way to prepare your future career self is learn enough about different elements of the different disciplines that you want to work in and be able to be the director, not just one of the team members.
Very good advice. And drink a lot of coffee. Friday afternoon, almost 3 p.m. Cheers.
I already finished my coffee. I'm
All
on to
right.
water now. Keep it going.
No, this
Yeah.
is really good advice. I sense the same things happening with just any field, with not just marketing. You got to be open. You got to work hard, but also be open to changes.
I think it's more, you have to be two things. You have to continuously want to learn, and you have to be naturally inquisitive.
Mm-hmm.
If you have those two skill sets in life, you can go really far.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I've worked in a lot of different industries, and it's purely because I'm naturally inquisitive about things. Like I worked in renewable energy where I knew nothing about solar and all the different facets of renewable energy, batteries, storage, utilities, and so on, transmission lines. But I was just naturally curious about like how it all worked. I was like, how does this all come together? And I think, I don't know if you know the story, but I came to Experian. I had zero experience in credit, consumer credit. And I got hired by, I don't know if you remember, Mike Dean, who's
Yeah, I remember.
amazing, amazing leader and executive. Like, you want to be a good leader and be Mike Dean.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. He was such a great leader. And I think the thing is, I came in and I think Mike recognized that like I had a core set of skills. I knew nothing about consumer finance or credit, and I previously had been an entrepreneur, so I probably had horrible credit. He was like, I know you can learn this stuff. He's like, I got plenty of people here that already know all that. So it's take your skills and apply your skills and go learn this industry and then help us figure out our strategies going forward. And for me, I love that. I take that on, right? I want to go
Yeah.
learn the industry. I'm naturally inquisitive about how things work, and I continuously want to learn new stuff. And I think a lot of folks don't have that skill set, sadly. And
Yeah.
that's something that like we get tired of learning certain things, or we get tired, and that's understandable. But to be successful, you have to push yourself to want to learn and to don't just accept things, but ask the question, why, right? Why does this work? How does this work? Be naturally inquisitive.
Yeah. Very good advice there. Okay, so we're running out of time, and I do have a new segment to my podcast that it's a
Uh-oh.
surprise one that I didn't have it last
Uh-oh.
time. So I'm gonna ask you 3 personal questions, and they're random. So feel free to answer them however you want. Number 1, when Mark is not being an awesome CMO, what does he like to do?
Is sleep an answer these days?
Me too.
No, yeah, sleep's it feels like I need it all the time. No, for me, family is super important, and
Mhm.
I love being with my wife and kids and doing family activities and having family time. It's for me really important. And then as part of that, we love food. We're foodies. We're a
That
food
was gonna be my
family.
second question. So what's your
Oh,
favorite
well,
food or
I'll just say
favorite cuisine?
we're a foodie family. Going and exploring new foods and having food experiences together is key. What's my own personal favorite food?
Yeah, and cuisine, yeah.
I don't know. I like a lot of different things, but I think cuisine is probably Korean. I love
Good,
Korean
yeah.
food, so Korean barbecue and
Yeah.
all the little steamed egg and
Yeah.
kimbap and
Mhm.
bibimbap and all the little
It's an
samjang on some
experience, right? They
barbecue
give you a
beef.
little bit of
So,
everything, and I just really enjoy that experience.
and you know what? You personalize it, right? It's like
Mhm.
you take the lettuce wrap and you put the beef on it and
Mhm.
whatever sauce you like, and
Yeah.
like that's a cool experience. Food should be an experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the last question would be that any recent movies or books or even places you've traveled that you recommend?
How about I'll answer it like this, which is the place I want to go to next. I have two places. I want to go to Japan.
Okay.
My daughter is super into the Japanese culture, not
Hmm.
Japanese in any way, but
Yeah.
she's fascinated with the culture. And I traveled to Japan and Tokyo a lot for work when I was younger,
Yeah.
but I never got to see it.
Hmm.
And I want to go back. I want to take my daughter, and I want to go explore places within Japan that I never went to and just have a cool experience. So hopefully next year we'll do that. And I'll also say, I want to go to Australia. It's place I've never been. I've been to pretty much every other place in the world, but never been to Australia and New Zealand. There's a particular restaurant there that there's a master chef that prepares fish almost like it's steak. He
wow.
dry ages it, cleans the bones. You could have, much like you'd have pork ribs or beef ribs, he makes fish ribs, and
wow,
it's just like incredible seafood cuisine.
What is it called?
Yeah, it's Dr. Malin's.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Malin is the restaurant. So
Cool.
Mailand. But yeah, those are probably Japan and Australia. Probably two places I need to go to.
All right, back to real life, back to business. Where can people find you? Control Media.
Yeah, marketcontrolmedia.com, and Control Media is spelled with a K, so KONTROLMEDIA. You can always obviously find me on LinkedIn and just reach out and let's have a chat. I think Al knows I'm pretty open to talking to people, because I always believe in the philosophy of you always take a meeting, because you never know where it goes and what's going to come out of it. And I've been highly successful in my career by that philosophy of, I took a meeting when most people probably wouldn't have, and I took the meeting, and like it turned out to open some amazing doors, and I feel very fortunate that.
And I can attest you do that, and you also help people, and that's one thing that I'm really grateful for. You've given me a lot of good advices, and we work together on a few projects.
It's fun to help people.
For sure.
And we're in marketing. It's not like we're curing cancer. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. And let's have fun doing what we do and collaborate and help each other. Is pretty cool stuff.
Very cool. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming back. And I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much. You have a nice weekend.
You too.
Bye.